Personal power and how to uncover it. Personal power has been this elusive topic in personal development. Everybody wants personal power. Some people think they don't have it. Some people think they had it and lost it. Some people know they have it and want to have more of it. And the question becomes, how do we, it's like Bitcoin, how do we find more? How do we find more? Where is this personal power of mine hiding? And the conversation has been around forever. And interestingly enough, because this is personal development, there's always the conversation on whether or not things are a little bit on the spiritual / woo-woo side, or whether they're concrete conversation that have been around for longer and have been accepted for longer, have been more mainstream than other conversation. The conversation about personal power might have been the first one. Even if you read into Think and Grow Rich, even if you go, another half century back before Napoleon Hill and read As a Man Thinketh, and even if you go even farther back, then it was always about how do we create stuff for ourselves, make things happen. Where is this thing, this property of who I am that can affect and influence and change my life to the point that my life will include things that I want in it, which is personal power. And I don't want to include all of humanity in this statement, but I certainly am going to include all of us in this call, because otherwise I suspect none of us would have been on the call, and that myself included. Is we have that equation. We say either I want to really find my personal power, which means you responded to me saying, let's uncover it in the subject line or in the topic of the conversation, or you say, I know where my personal power is. I just want more of it because what I have isn't enough for what I need to create in my life. So the outcome that I want to have today is to shed some light with a big flashlight on what personal power is and how to have more of it. Simple question. At the end, I will definitely, I don't think it's going to be a big surprise to you that at the end I'm going to share with you how potentially you can make your path to personal power easier with my help, but that's at the end, maybe in the last 5 minutes or so. I don't need more than that. So here's the first question is, what is personal power? What is this thing? Because let me tell you right up front, power has nothing to do with force. Now, a lot of us in the personal development will know that. A lot of us have understood that there are very powerful people that don't use force at all. In fact, it's going to be counterproductive for them to try and use force. People like Gandhi, Mandela, they didn't use force at all. And had they tried and use force, they probably would have not reached the results that they have. And I can give you a lot of other examples, but what is it? Let's leave aside the fact that power is not force. What is power? And I'm going to give you my definition. My definition is the ability that you have to make something happen. And it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter if the thing that you want to make happen is a healthy body for yourself, or a fit body for yourself, or a great relationship, or a great family, or maybe you are in the situation that right now what you want to create for yourself is more wealth, or a better life, or a social initiative, or you want to do something bigger, have an impact on the world, make a dent in the universe, for crying out loud. I didn't know the universe was made of metal so we can dent it or something. what does it mean? We use abstracts, but make a dent in the universe could translate for one person as, save the rhinoceros, and for another person, it could be clean the ocean, and for a third person, it would be help my parents who are now frail and they need help. Or some people, it would be my own personal universe. So I want you to stop right now, everything that you're doing, except watching Zoom right now, but, focus on this, and I want you to bring to mind something. I want you to bring to mind something that you have done that was improbable that you'd be successful doing. Maybe you were 5 years old, 15 years old, 50 years old, 20 years old. What did you do that was like out of the blue, improbable that you'd be successful doing it? And go ahead and if, unless it's X-rated or something, just put it in the comment box so we can have some example. I'll give you an example of mine. In 1992, I took my wife of today, then it was my fiance, and we took 2 backpacks and we travel around the world. And one thing that happens as we did is we ended up in China, and then we said, okay, well, let's go into Tibet. And that was okay. Well, that wasn't probable either, but we found ourselves there. And then we said, I got this crazy idea. I said, instead of going all the way around, back to the eastern part of China and then through Hong Kong, out of China to somewhere else to get to Nepal. Nepal is right next door. The only thing between us and Nepal is the Himalayas. And I told Shifra, I said, why don't we just, find our way across the Himalayas to Nepal? And so we did what in hindsight looks like the weirdest, most improbable thing. Look, we're talking 1992. So pre-internet, the only maps that you can get is the one that you bought ahead of time somewhere, I don't know where, and we did it. So, Verena, traveling the world without a plan, something improbable. For Shifra and me, it was hitchhiking our way across the Himalayas from Tibet to Nepal. For another person, it could be all sorts of other things. So as you bring up this thing that was unthinkable, maybe, Tommy says, adopting 3 elementary age children, not 1, not 2, freaking 3 of them. Yeah, when I look at it, it's not, it doesn't have to be something that like, yeah, I want to go through the wall. Oh, well, that didn't work. It's something that was just like the improbable, something that you are going to be with everybody else saying, are you crazy? Like, no, how is that going to even happen? And yet you did it, and that it happened. Charlie says, I went on my first trek alone, and it was the Himalayas. I got lost in the middle of the Himalayas in the middle of the night and found my way back anyway, right? I wonder if you saw Bigfoot. Anyway, I have Bigfoot on my mind because I just saw the promo. There's a movie coming out called Littlefoot, which is, when the Bigfoot community finds a human. So how did you feel? How did you feel when that thing happened for you? You might have not felt anything in particular during the action, But following it, there would have been a point in time when you step back and you say, whoa, wow, look at me, I did that. And you know why I'm taking you back to that point in time? I'm taking you back to that point in time because of two reasons. One of them is I'm looking for the feeling, because the feeling is a back anchor to come back to. But moreover, I want to remind you and indicate to you that we have that power. Now, interestingly enough, we do have personal power, but it kind of like one day it's there, one day it's not there. Or is it? Or is it that one day we feel it and the other day we don't feel it? So I want to point to the fact that we all have personal power. It's actually awesome to experience it. And the question is, how come is it, it's there for us one day and it's not there for us on another day? So let's go into that. The definition of power, like I told you, is, and you see me looking at my notes, by the way, because that's one of the things that's happening to me. Those of you who know me, I always get more ideas like 5 minutes before I start the presentation. So I have my documents and I'm going to look at it. What did you require? Can you imagine Charlie there in the middle of the Himalayas at night, not really very fluent on her Nepalese or Chinese or wherever you were. It's like, and Tommy, it's just, I can't even start imagining. Now that experience needed something that has a little bit of grit, a little bit of resolution. It certainly needed a strength of character. Certainly the Himalayas are full of frozen bodies that didn't find their way out. And some of them fell, but some of them just gave up. I mean, watch the movie Everest. You'll see there are people who just basically give up and there are people who don't give up. And Everest is a great environment in order to see that. But when you pull that off with some resolution, some strength in your character, some grit, you had it, and yet we're all on the seminar that's called Your Personal Power and How to Uncover It. So what do we know so far? We know we have personal power. We know we don't always experience it. We know what power is. Maybe I'll just repeat that for sake of clarity. So the power, that personal power is the ability to make something happen. Doesn't matter what it is in your life that you want. You can have, I remember the story of Mac. Mac Newton is one of my mentor's mentor. He is a person that I'm full of appreciation and respect for him. Mac is an 8th degree black belt Taekwondo teacher. It's like as high as it gets, pretty much. There aren't too many of that in the entire country, in the entire world for that matter. And he demonstrated a jump one day and fell, hurt his back, and was told that he'll never walk again. He disputed that. And I'll make the long story short for sake of time. He is walking today. Well, where does that come from, right? And then, I'm saying that not in order to glorify Mac or state that, anything other than the fact that what we want to use our personal power for could be very simple thing. For Mac, it was, I am going to walk again and I'm going to keep teaching. And possibly it was, I'm going to get back to Taekwondo. So I don't know if he jumps 6 feet in the air now or where he gotten to, since I've seen him in 2013 or 14, which was pretty much when the whole ordeal happened. But he used that personal power to get back on his feet, literally. So you can use your personal power to get on your feet, whether it's from a health-wise, whether it is financially, whether it is spiritually, whether you have to recover from a bad breakup, whether you need to recover from a financial break, or whether you don't need to recover from anything at all, but you want to build something big and beautiful, which is just not something that would be probable that you succeed. But the one thing on top of that, power could be the ability to be heard. Power could be a lot of things, but there's one thing that power is not. Power is not force. None of these stories use force. This is not about manipulation, it's about creation. It is not about pushing, it's about attracting. So that is where the conversation about personal power does become a little bit spiritual, woo-woo-like, if you will. And the question becomes, if your power is how to attract to you a flow of things that would conspire or get together or build together a result that you have in mind. Very abstract, so I'll say it again. If power means the ability to somehow attract into your life occurrences, acquaintances, people, things, luck. We can have a whole discussion about what luck means. But attracting into your life incidents, dynamics, and people that all align to create a situation or a result that you want to create in your life, how do we create that attraction? This is as much as, if we talk about manifestation, if we would talk about law of attraction, if we talk about wizardry, we talk about all the same thing. And Tommy says power is the ability to affect change without knowing the final outcome. Well, I would add to that, Tommy, that you do have an outcome in mind, and then you're affecting change without knowing without having certainty that the outcome will actually manifest. That would be my response to that. And I don't know that I'm right or wrong, but that would be my immediate reaction to what you wrote. So what the heck? I mean, all right, fine, Yoram, attraction. What the heck? So where does that come from? How does that work? So, here's what I know. We all have it, and it's somewhere. So how do we invoke it? So here's a few things that I want you to understand, and that are the main thing about personal power that I want to convey in this conversation. Number one is personal power is a potential. And the whole conversation up until now leads to that. Personal power is something that you have. If you access it correctly, it'll work for you. If you don't access it correctly or don't access it at all, it's not going to work for you. So it's a potential. We use it every so often in our lives. Okay. So it comes in and out, and my question to you is, because it's not a conversation, but I would bet, I'm hazarding a guess here, that as you pulled off the improbable, you felt great. So, have you felt great about the result, or have you felt great about yourself? Or is it both, and you felt great about the fact that you expressed who you are to create something that was bigger than normal, that was outside of the norm, that was improbable, but there was something about expressing who you are, like, yeah, I did it. And you know, if you look at it from an ego perspective, and I'm not at all a person who would tell you to kill your egos. It's like, yeah, look at me. I did it. I pulled it off. I made it happen. And if you look at it from the spiritual side, it's like, yeah, thank you for the power that allowed me to make a difference. But either way, I would say that your focus on being aligned with who you are created the result. What do I mean by that? When you did the improbable, when you went for what was not crazy, immediate, like, yeah, it's totally logical, you know, I do this, this is going to happen. You went for something beyond that, and you probably said something to the effect of, well, okay, look, I'm not sure this is going to work, but I want to try. Why do I want to try? Because this is who I am. It's important to me. Unless something is important to you, you're not going to try something that has not a whole lot of chances to immediately fulfill itself. If it's not important to you, you're not going to do something difficult. So if you did something difficult, it means to me that it was important to you. If it was important to you, that importance came from who you are. So the more we're aligned with who we are, the more important, something becomes to us when we pursue it. And I believe that the more power is available to us as we do that. So again, a little bit of abstract, but think about it. Let's say you want to create something that is out of the box. You know it's not going to be easy. You know it perhaps doesn't have a whole lot of chances to happen, yet you're still doing it, which means it's important to you. So you're putting yourself on the line. You're putting yourself on the line. You're bringing everything which is, who you are into it. And again, I feel a little bit lost because I love having interactive conversation, and I already said we're not going to have this time. But my belief is that the more of who you are that you put into a situation like that, then the more chances you are to invoke that power to go to go down the path and make it happen. So we have a potential. We need to be aligned, and the more aligned we are with who we are, the more chances we have to make that come out. And the last thing that I want to say about personal power before looking into how do we actually bring it about is personal power does act like other things, such as confidence, such as competence, even physical strength, in the way that it can be cultivated and it can be developed, but it can be atrophied. It could go away over time if you don't maintain it. So what do I mean by that? Let's look at confidence. If you have your level of confidence, which you have right now, which is somewhere between 1 and 10. 10 means I can do whatever I want. 1 means I can't do anything. And typically most people are going to tell me that they're going to be between 6 and 8 on that scale. And that's a personal preference. It's not an exact science. And people say what they say. So can you cultivate more confidence? Yes, of course you can cultivate more confidence. It comes with small successes. Every time you succeed a little bit, you have a little bit more confidence in your ability to do that one thing, your competence in doing it. As small successes cultivate your level of confidence. Well, What if you had small successes which are outside the box and you access your personal power on a small dosage, small homeopathic dose of being outside the box, like Oasis or, like Charlie, paint a sign and go out to the city center and go, free hugs, who wants a hug today? And know that people could look at you like, whoa, you're weird, or maybe they're going to just come get a hug, right? So small homeopathic dosages of personal power, or the situations that bring out personal power, would actually bring about more than that, right? So what is the Yoram recipe to bring out your personal power? So we already know personal power has to do with your alignment. So alignment to what? Alignment to who you are. So step number one is to figure out who you are. What do I mean by that? So figuring out who you are is, there's a big question about what do you stand for? What do you believe in? What are your non-negotiable values? What are your rules of engagement, right? So who you are, what do you believe in? What's important to you? Because remember, as you do stuff that's important to you, you're more likely to bring out your personal power than if you don't. So looking here, okay? So step number two, which is critical, and for those of you who attended my free class on personal code of honor, you will recognize it. Step number two is to figure out how you want to show up in life. And how you want to show up in life, that would be a set of rules. This is how I do business around me. This is how I show up. I do what I say I'm going to do. This is how I show up. I put family first. This is how I show up. I give in every opportunity. This is how I show up. For me, there are things like I surround myself with people who ask more of me than I do. So it's a lot about finding out how you want to show up in life. And that means that you are going to have principles that are going to guide you in making decisions. Decisions like what, Yoram? Decisions like wandering into the Himalayas alone at night? No. Decisions such as, what am I going to eat today? Am I going to eat the lean meat, or am I going to have some more ice cream? What is decision like, how much exercise will you do? Decisions like getting out of bed in the morning to run, even though you don't feel like running because you went to bed late yesterday. And yes, as well, decision as, yes, I'm going to adopt another child, or decisions like, yes, I am going to write that book, or decisions such as, yes, I'm going to go out and protest something, or I'm going to do something about this world problem that is on my mind and weighs on my soul. So all of these decisions are a combination of who you are, what do you believe in, what do you stand for, and how you want to show up in life. You have to clarify all of this. And the third thing, so the first one is who you are, what you believe in. The second was, how do you want to show up in life? And the third is to habitually align with the other two. So some people call this accountability. Some people call it, it has all sorts of names that we grew to fear. So, it's kind of funny. We fear the word accountability now. We think like accountability is this huge, big monster that's going to eat our heads because we're going to not do something that we said that we'd do or something. So I'm going to call it a habit. So habitually align with these two things. So give you an example. It's funny, but I have it on my desk right now. Wasn't planning for it, but I have a little list, right, which I printed and framed, and that list is my rules of engagement and how I want to show up in life. And I have it on my desk so I can look at it frequently and remember it, so it guides me in my decisions day in, day out. I invite you to create a list like that for yourselves. If you want to see how my list look like, you can read it. It's on my website. It's heyyoram.com/about. It's right there. heyyoram.com/about. Yeah, most people don't even know that I have a website. I don't use my website much, but I have one because somebody at some point told me I had to have a website or I'm not going on stage in her event. So, okay, so how do you habitually? It's easy. Look, it's easy to do the right thing every once in a while when we think about it. You know what? It's hard is to do the right thing when we don't think about it. And that's why we need it. But I want to get you back to that point and think about how you were, think about your mindset, think about how you felt generally through that period of time when you pulled that improbable thing that you did, and now tell you this. When you do the right thing repetitively, when you express who you are, when you can act as if always before any small decision, you ask yourself, what would my higher self do? What would the best version of me do? When you do that habitually and consistently, what's developing is self-trust and self-confidence. Because the more you do what you think the right thing is to do, the more you believe that you will do what the right thing is. It feeds itself. And you create that self-esteem. You become proud in who you are. And you have every reason to be proud in who you are. And then the magic happens. Because the magic is when you create that self-trust and self-confidence, when you become proud in who you are, other people pick on that and see you, and they start trusting you. And they start being confident that if you say that you're going to do something for them, you will. That's part of trust. And suddenly they want to hang out with you. And suddenly you develop relationships on a higher level. And suddenly people are available to help you that can do things that could assist you in creating stuff that is bigger and more and less probable than you did in the past. And that is where your personal power is, and mine. It's in the alignment between who I am and how I want to show up and what I do. And I can tell you from my life. So I have this wonderful list, and I have an understanding of who I am, and I have an understanding that I'm so committed to loyalty, and I'm so committed to spiritual expression, and I do anything for it. And the more I'm consistent with these, the better I feel about myself, the better results are happening. And every time I stray from that path and I do stuff that, I'm not doing bad stuff. I'm not, committing crimes. I'm not even committing sins. It's like I'm just doing what I'm doing, just being a mediocre self version of myself. Then my personal power erodes and my results start eroding with it. For those of you who met me in Europe, in Estonia, you've seen a wonderful example of who I am, and I can tell you that that example is a great example that I was very proud of how I conducted myself in that month. Is it happening all year long? No, it doesn't. Am I being like a disgusting, horrible human being for the rest of the year? No. But I could be at some points of the year. It's just a mediocre version of myself, which I'm not really experiencing any proud in. So a list like that and consulting it and keeping it fresh in my mind and having it on my desk helps me to make the right decision. And as I do them, I'm regaining my momentum and my confidence and my personal power. So I want to summarize, and then I'm going to tell you how you can make all of that easier for yourselves, or just accelerate. So the first part is sit down, figure out what do you believe in. What are your main things that you believe in your life, about who you are, about what your purpose is, about what it is that you want to see happen around you in the world. And it could be your world, and it could be the world at large. Number two is, how do you want to show up in life? What are your rules of engagement? How you want to show up in life? And then number three, have these two lists available everywhere. Consult them frequently. Use them to help you make decisions. Should I go to this place or should I go to that place? Should I stay in my job or should I go look for another job offer? Should I, start a new practice, move to another place, get married, get divorced, but also should I join a gym? Also, should I go on this particular diet? Also, even should I work with this one client or not? Because it's easy to say if it's not a heck yes, it's a heck no, but we all heard it. But what does it mean a heck yes? Other than a gut feeling, other than a soul knowing. These are great, but there's more that you can do on an everyday basis. So let me take 5 minutes. And in the next 5 minutes, and actually I'm quite happy because it looks like we are going to finish on time. If you have any questions on anything that I've said, then please put them in the comments. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to tell you how you can make this easier for yourself and then come back and answer all of these questions. So we have a course that's called SuperQuest. SuperQuest is a 12-week course. It starts next Monday. And in these 12 weeks course, I don't know if I can read all of that very quickly, but we cover how to discover and shape who you will be at the end of this course, which means what are the two values that determine every decision and every action in your life? What are you more committed to, and you don't even know that, than your entire life? What is your superpower? What is your gift? And how to use it? How to use it to be like this kick-ass person every day in every way in your life? And then, what are these hints that life has left you in order to determine what your life purpose is? Because it's funny. Life doesn't just tell us what our purpose is. Life gives us hints, and it wants us to find our own purpose before we even commit to it. And then it wants us to commit and go ahead and do it. So we're going to go over all of that. We are going to create that code of what I call the extraordinary person that you want to be. How do you want to show up in life? We're going to do that in the 6th week of the program. How can you show up and be an expression of your essence? How great would that be in order to pursue your purpose? And then we're going to go into, when you do that, what is going to help you to actually make that happen? So we're going to go into the productivity hacks that makes you effective and get you in flow. What are the accountability? Is that word again? Hacks, the accountability hacks that keeps you going powerfully and consistently. You know, who are the wingmen that will never, ever let you down, always pull you up and keep you on track? And when you do all that, there's another portion that we need is, let's not be, was it Icarus or Daedalus? The one who fell. Let's keep our egos in check. So once you get off the runway, into the air, now you're in the air, you're flying, you're gaining momentum, that ego sometimes shoots us down by being overzealous about, oh, look at me, I'm flying. Oh, now I'm falling, right? So we need to know how to balance everything, how to balance the pride in our power, the understanding that we can make things happen in the world with our ego that says, oh, look at me, I'm like the best thing since sliced bread. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the power of celebration in order to accelerate accelerate our momentum and keep ourselves going. We're going to start on September 17th. We're going to end on December 16th. Here's my goal. My goal is for you to take a conscious, a guilt-free vacation on the holidays. So you know that you don't have to think about 2019. You don't have to do goal settings for 2019. It's all done. You're ready to go. You can hit the ground running on the first of the year. But meanwhile, between the 17th of December and the 31st of December, you can take your vacation, you know, and do whatever you want. And you don't have to be under pressure and start next year with stress. Like, how messed up is that? Right? So we're going to work on a weekly basis. There's going to be a lot of challenges. You can work a little bit, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day. You can accumulate everything doing it on the weekend. There's going to be a little element of a competition. There's going to be a little element of a game. I'm telling you up front, there's no big prizes to be won by winning the competition. And yet there is the big prize of getting off the ground, gaining momentum, becoming more of who you can be, and unearthing that personal power that would get you to have a really, really banner 2019. It's not a free course. The course is $495 if you prepaid, or you can make 3 payments of $195. If you're interested, just let me know. There's no fancy websites. There's no landing pages. There's no big propaganda. There's no email series. There's nothing that I can send you so you can read more about it later. If you have questions, ask me. Okay? So that is called Super Quest. It starts on Monday, and I invite all of you. I know that some of you are actually already part of Super Quest, and some of you aren't. And with that, I want to see if there are any questions. And all I see right now is a prolonged silence with no questions. When it comes to personal power and unearthing it, A, we have it. B, the part with unearthing it, we got to be very careful of our words, because sometimes when we say uncover or unearth, then we use words that create the imagery and the perception in our mind that it is hard to access. Actually, your personal power is dead easy to access. Decide who you want to be and how a person like that would act on a daily basis, and make a list. And then on a daily basis, start being the superhero that you are already. And with that, that's all I had to say about personal power and how to uncover it. You guys have a great night, a great day. Love you all. Have a great, great day, and use your personal powers.